If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to do a video about this, even though I'm not a channel that usually covers imposters or someone being a clone of someone else. It's not because I don't believe that that's actually true. It's just the fact that there's so much going on. There's only so much to cover. And obviously I'm interested in reading between the lines, watching other things that I cover. Other channels cover this type of stuff. But I wanted to do a video about Biden, because there are a lot of people that think that Biden's been replaced by a clone. And I know that when people hear that, they automatically love to do videos making fun of people who believe in clones. And I'm not saying he is or he isn't, but at first glance, this obviously doesn't look like the same person who was the vice president of the United States. It looks like a different person. But I want to show you some interesting things, because if you're somebody out there that doubts human cloning, I'm going to show you Bill Clinton even talking about how our governments were doing human cloning research over 20 years ago. And if you don't think that they're capable of doing it, they were then. So just imagine what they're capable of doing now. And you'd say, well, what's the point of human cloning? And some people are like, well, they can get, organ. I mean, just, in the name of science and the health department, they could do just all types of stuff that they know is ethically wrong, but they try to say is ethically good for science, technology, and humanity, which is exactly what they're trying to do with the potion. But this is the Illuminati card game. Let's start there. The Illuminati card game does have a card, the imposter card. And this is interesting. A lot of people have seen this already. I want to make sure you saw it. You could see in this imposter card the person's neck. So it's pretty much saying that, there'll be an imposter wearing a mask. And you can see the pentagrams next to the stars, which pretty much are, this is representing a politician, a president that would be a clone or somebody else in hiding per se. And you could see some of these photos of Biden's neck, just like that card is showing the neck, right? Which is, it's pretty interesting. It's something that's obviously not out of the realm of possibility, that people who would think that creating clones is out of the realm of possibility, or that they're just bothered by it and they're like, well, why would they create a clone and how would they do that? There's so much predictive programming with clones that it's really insane. So let's start with our own government talking about human cloning experiments. How, well, they're saying, hey, we have to keep an eye on it and make sure it's ethically correct. The fact that our, President Clinton, who is not ethically or morally correct, who's one of the most despicable things that have ever walked the earth, you're going to take his word for it, talking about how, well, they're monitoring this. And this is a long time ago. This is when he was the president. Listen to him and Al Gore even just talk about it, because there's always people that say that anyone who talks about cloning is a crazy nut job. Your own presidents have talked about how the CDC and these other health departments are already doing this then. We're already doing this then. They're definitely doing it now.
We're here, of course, because we all realize we must strive to find the sometimes delicate but always crucial balance between our unending search for knowledge and doing what is safe and morally right. Ever since scientists in Scotland successfully cloned a sheep, an adult sheep, in February, the President and those of us who work with him, along with the rest of the nation, have grappled with the meaning and significance of the discovery, and the meaning and significance, of course, of the many scientific, safety, ethical, and religious implications presented by the question of the prospective possibility of cloning of human beings. No one, however, has deliberated more on this issue than the men and women who are responsible for the report being delivered today to President Clinton, the members of the National Bioethics Advisory Commission. Over the last 3 months, they worked on an extremely complex issue at an extremely fast pace.
As the Vice President has said, and all of us know, we live in an era of breathtaking scientific discovery. More and more, our future in the world depends upon advances in science and technology. and more the scientific community will influence the course of the future and the lives that our children will lead in the new century that is upon us. As I said in my commencement address at Morgan State University last month, our scientific explorations must be guided by our commitment to human values, to the good of society, to our basic sense of right and wrong. Nothing makes the necessity of that moral obligation more clear than the troubling possibility that these new animal cloning techniques could be used to create a child. That is why I acted in March to ban the use of federal funds for cloning human beings and to urge the private sector to observe the ban voluntarily while we initiated a national dialogue on the risks and the responsibilities of such a possibility, and why I asked this commission to issue this report. For 3 months, the commission has rigorously explored the scientific, moral, and spiritual dimensions of human cloning. It has talked to leading scientists and religious leaders, to philosophers and families, to patient advocates, and to the general public. From many opinions and beliefs, as Dr. Shapiro said, one unanimous conclusion has emerged. Attempting to clone a human being is unacceptably dangerous to the child and morally unacceptable to our society. I believe strongly that this conclusion reflects a national consensus, and I believe personally that it is the right thing to do. Today, I am sending legislation to the Congress that prohibits anyone in either public or private sectors from using these techniques to create a child. Until the day I sign the legislation into law, the ban on federal funding I declared in March will remain in effect. And once again, I call upon the private sector to refrain voluntarily from using this technology to attempt to clone a human being. I want to make clear that there is nothing inherently immoral or wrong with these new techniques used for proper purposes. In fact, they hold the promise of revolutionary new medical treatments and life-saving cures to diseases like cystic fibrosis, diabetes, and cancer, to better crops and stronger livestock. This legislation, therefore, will not prohibit the use of these techniques to clone DNA in cells, and it will not ban the cloning of animals. What the legislation will do is to reaffirm our most cherished belief about the miracle of human life and the God-given individuality each person possesses. It will ensure that we do not fall prey to the temptation to replicate ourselves at the expense of those beliefs and the lives of innocent children we would produce. Finally, the legislation will ensure that we continue the national dialogue we began 3 months ago and will provide the nation and the Congress another opportunity to take a look at this issue in 5 years. To make sure that all our voices are heard as we explore human cloning, the legislation specifically requires the National Bioethics Advisory Commission to continue its study and report back in 4.5 years. At that time, we will decide how to proceed based on what has been accomplished and agreed upon and debated and discovered in the intervening period. Banning human cloning reflects our humanity. It is the right thing to do. Creating a child through this new method calls into question our most fundamental beliefs. It has the potential to threaten the sacred family bonds at the very core of our ideals and our society. At its worst, it could lead to misguided and malevolent attempts to select certain traits, even to create certain kinds of children, to make our children objects rather than cherished individuals. We are still a long way from understanding all the implications of the present discoveries, but it is our moral obligation to confront these issues as they arise and to act now to prevent abuse. Today, I hope other countries will see what we are doing and do the same, and I pledge to work with them to enforce similar bans around the world that reflect these values. Once again, let me say a heartfelt thank you on behalf of our entire nation to the National Bioethics Advisory Commission for the remarkable work you have done and the work you have agreed to continue doing in the coming years. Thank you very much.
If you buy the speech about how our government's morally keeping an eye on the ethics of these things and passing legislation to make sure it's morally outstanding, I mean, that's all a bunch of bull crap. When stuff gets out and it leaks, they spin it back. Now it's gotten so bad that, flat out don't even have to address anything that's going on. They just ignore it and do whatever they want. But back then, they had to put a little spin on it. So they're telling you flat out that the capability is there. It's just a matter of would they do it or not. Well, first of all, to even say that it would be done for science is a joke. It's an utter joke for someone to be like, well, we're going to do it, and then we're going to do stuff with medically get things going and test things out for scientific and technological advancements in our humanity. That's just all table talk bullcrap. Okay? Why would they, in the first place, if they were going to create clones, why wouldn't it be political leaders? Why wouldn't it be social engineer celebrities? I know people believe Dave Chappelle's been cloned. I know people believe Eminem's been cloned. And they might 100% be right. I don't know. I don't look into that kind of stuff. You know, if that's something that interests you and you want to watch those videos or cover it, more power to you. But why would people think that that would be out of the realm of possibilities? Those are social influencers. This is a president. Who would be more controllable than somebody they create? Okay? Now, obviously, you could say, well, maybe it's just a regular person that's wearing a mask. That's another thing that's getting thrown around. But we've seen predictive programming where they flat out have told and talked about replacing presidents with clones and things like that. Remember the movie Dave?
Dave Kovic was an ordinary guy.
Mr. Kovic, your government needs your help.
Just happened to look like the president.
You're a very handsome man. Thank you, Mr. President.
Something has happened to the president.
What about the vice president?
The vice president is mentally unbalanced.
Now, in this, they talk about this guy just being a lookalike, you know, without telling you that it's an actual clone when it's the same actor playing the role. I mean, it would have to be an identical twin, but he doesn't even play an identical twin in the movie. He's just some guy that happens to look identical to the president, and then the president gets replaced by him. So there's been predictive programming about it in the past. And the reason I covered this is I wanted people to see out of your own former president's mouth, right, that this is real. Because when people fight other people on the cloning issue, it's ridiculous. Because if somebody has an opinion that somebody is cloned, they're entitled, of course, to their opinion. But when you use the argument that it's not in the realm of possibility, that they don't have the technology to do it, it's just plain asinine. Because they clearly have that capability. They've clearly done it on animals over and over again. They still do it and talk about it. But what do you expect? They're going to come out and tell you that they're cloning humans? Right? The first thing people think of is, oh, tinfoil hat wearers, they're cloning human beings. Well, they're telling you that they do that already. Why wouldn't they? Because they're not corrupt. These are the most corrupt people in the world. We already know all the stuff that the Clintons are involved in. Yeah, him talking about what's ethical with the child is pretty funny, right? In hindsight, with everything we know now. Although there was a lot of stuff leaked by Kathy O'Brien back then, which of course they've tried to kick under the rug. But, you have to watch what's morally ethic for a child coming out of a Clinton's mouth. I mean, it's just, everything is so upside down now. At this point, when you look back at it, I mean, it's laughable that people put up a fight against human cloning. And they're like, well, we can do it, but we're ethically not going to do that because you can trust us. I mean, I can't believe there's people that trust in any of these governments at this point. They've done nothing for humanity, nothing for the people. They tax you out your rear end. They take from you constantly. They divide everyone constantly, right? If the media and the television set every day was showing sunshine and roses, then people would believe that everything was okay, because when they go out in their everyday life, everything is okay. Right? Of course, there's problems and stuff, and people have issues with people and things like that. That's part of human nature. But, I mean, it's so engineered, it's out of control. So, the imposter Illuminati card, I wanted to know what everybody thought about it. Obviously, I mean, I fully don't think that the guy that you saw as vice president looks the same at all as this guy. And this guy is such a bumbling fool. You have to wonder what his IQ even is if he's actually who he's supposed to be, because they don't even sound the same with their talking points if you listen to some of the old interviews. But I'm not saying that, this isn't a video saying, hey, this is an imposter, we have a clone in Congress. I'm bringing up the idea of this because I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I wanted to share it because if you haven't heard it, the Illuminati card game is always correct because they know exactly what's coming and what's going to happen. This is sigil magic working. They show you it, right? We saw it with the towers, right? We saw it with the Pentagon. We see it with activism cards. I mean, there's so many cards. I just covered the trucker thing, right? I mean, over and over and over and over. So why would anyone be surprised if they tell you that they can do this, that they wouldn't actually do it? These people are beyond demonic and beyond sick. There's nothing out of the realm of possibility with these people. And we already know what they do with kids, so why would they feel any guilt in cloning and doing stuff to children so that they can make sure that their puppets are in positions of power in case something happens to them, right? Think about it. Makes sense. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. I thought it was an interesting topic to get off the severity of the nonsense going on. I mean, this is obviously serious, but I'm just, people talk about some of this stuff. They're so dumbed down. They're like, you say cloning, they go tinfoil hat. Oh, cloning's not real. I'm not even showing you some guy on YouTube. I'm showing you the president of the United States talking about doing experiments with cloning and human cloning. And then him giving you his word that they're going to keep their ethics. So nobody's buying that because our government has no ethics or morals. And it goes with a lot of topics that people just automatically dismiss. They just go, no, that's not happening. Oh, yeah. They're telling you it's happening. It's just a matter of you trust in these people or not. And sadly, we have people who do. Reminder, check out the website at callforanuprising.com. I have a new video up over there you should see about stuff going on in Ukraine. I want to thank everyone for being here. Reminder, check out my my blue background channel, my color-coded channels that I constantly have to create. I mean, anyway, check it out if you haven't. Again, just make sure you click in the comment section or the description box. Just click it, click subscribe. That way you don't have to worry about finding me again. My channels constantly come and go like farts in the wind, and it doesn't seem like it's ever going to stop. So I thank everyone again for your support and for being here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. God bless all of you and your families.